Welcome back. Now, last month, a 40-foot container filled with vital supplies left the south side of Glasgow, bound for the Balkans. The shipment of aid was being taken by the charity Glasgow the Caring City to be distributed to thousands of desperate refugees who've risked their lives fleeing war-torn Syria. Well, travelling with that aid truck was Ross Galbraith, the charity's international projects leader, and James Dornan, MSP from Glasgow Cathcart. And they both join me now. Welcome both of you here to STV Glasgow. Now, tell us a bit, first of all, about what that container was for and where it was headed, Ross.
We have a situation in the Balkans where we have tens of thousands of refugees. All of them want to transit through to Germany or Sweden. But there is a backlog of people who physically can't cross through the borders every day because of quotas. So we have tens of thousands of people stuck in places like Serbia, Croatia, Slovenia, and those people desperately need help, and that's when an organisation like ourselves really comes into its own and being able to provide that basic material help that people need. We can provide that.
So James, where were you this particular time then?
We were based in Novi Sad in the Vojvodina region of Serbia, but the border crossing we went to see the refugees and what they were having to go through was at Šid, this is a border crossing that had up to that point taken about 1,000 refugees a day. The day we arrived it took 8,500. And it appears that the numbers were only going to increase. And I know that since then some of the news that's been coming out of the region has shown that the situation can only get more desperate.
You guys got back just last week, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. You were taking over a 40-foot container, as we said.
Yeah.
What was in that container that was so vital, was so needed?
Primarily warm clothing. Now, James and I experienced last Saturday, the conditions on an autumn's day are exceptionally cold. We were cold, both of us were cold, frozen to the bone, and we were well equipped. The refugees who were standing waiting to pass through that border crossing into Croatia were standing in very light clothing, flip-flops, jeans. They're equipped for warm weather countries, they're not equipped for winter in Europe. And essentially what we're doing is pre-loading our partners in the Balkans with the items that they're going to need for the weeks ahead. Warm clothing, blankets, and essentially hygiene kits also. People need to be able to get clean. We met young people there that hadn't washed for 2 months. That's simply not, it's simply not conducive to people staying safe. So warm clothing and hygiene kits were the primary items that were inside that container.
It is becoming, winter now. In the next couple of weeks, it'll certainly become much colder. This crisis is something that we've been aware of over the summer, but it's continuing into the winter. How prepared are they for that?
I don't think that any of the countries, let's be fair here, Serbia were very, very keen to do the right thing. I thought they were very cooperative. They did everything they could to help transit the refugees to the border and onto Western Europe. But I don't think they were prepared for the numbers. I don't think any of these countries could have been prepared for the numbers. And I still think that they're struggling to find their feet as the numbers get greater and as the need gets worse. So I think it's incumbent on some of the other countries within the European region, in and out of the European Union, to step up to the plate and help these countries I would suggest, by taking the refugees in. But if they're not going to be willing to do that, to make sure that there are facilities in place to help these refugees until such times as they can be moved on.
As far as your operation was concerned, was there a lot of red tape to get through to actually get to Serbia?
Yes, absolutely. We as a professional charity organisation have to act professionally. Therefore, we had to operate within the confines of customs restrictions. We had to appreciate what the UK border controls were looking for in terms of paperwork. But we also had to, in partnership with the Serbians, look to see basic things of, what items can enter the country tax-free, what way the paperwork should be presented, how the vehicle should be loaded. So there were quite a lot of things that we had to go through. But the reality is, if you put the hard work in before the aid shipment goes, it will make it transit so much quicker, and essentially we're looking to get vital essentials to people that need them vitally. So that's why we put in the hard work. So absolutely, yeah, lots of red tape.
And obviously, to fill a container that size, a great reaction from people here in Scotland, first of all, to the call for help.
Yeah, completely. James will testify to this too. Our vans and volunteers have been running about all over Scotland and Northern England for that matter also, gathering stuff from individuals donating 1 or 2 bags right through to people in Dundee that have collected truckloads of things. The generosity of the people of Scotland is spilling over, and that's great.
I think one of the benefits that the Caring City has is it's got a long-standing reputation for doing this sort of thing and doing it efficiently and making sure that the aid gets to those who need it most, and people responded very well to that. There's no doubt about it that, you know, there was a couple of triggers, and that horrendous photo of that poor young boy was a trigger for the public, and everybody was aware of the crisis that some people were facing and were very, very keen to give support. The people of Scotland have been incredibly generous, I'd like to say. The people of Cathcart more so, because that's where the charity was based, and they really stepped up to it.
Tell us about some of the people you met there then, some of the refugees.
We met people from all walks of life, people who literally had nothing, right through to young men who were highly educated, doctors, engineers. We even met one guy who was a Red Cross coordinator from Aleppo in Syria, and he had spent the last few months coordinating aid for people in his own village, and it got to a point where the threat for his life was so much that he had to leave. We had a strange situation of being in Serbia with an aid worker from Scotland, an aid worker from Serbia, and suddenly we found this aid worker from Syria, and the three of us had a kind of a unity and a really kind of strange moment where we all identified with one another. Michael is now, I believe, in Germany, where he is no doubt going to be an asset to the German community, and we met people of all walks of life, from those literally standing in nothing to those who we know are going to go on and blossom and really benefit the communities that they end up residing in.
There was two, at the Sheed border, there was two groups of people that stuck with me. One is that group of young men who were incredibly intelligent, you know, an asset to any country. And before they left, one of them was going to Sweden to try and catch up with his brother, and the other group were going to Germany, and I gave the boy from Sweden, who was going to Sweden, my card, Salim, and one of the other boys, Michael, I gave him my card. Salim emailed me from Sweden on Saturday to say that he'd arrived safely, which I have to say is the best email I have ever received in my life. Yeah. It was great, and I'm now in contact with him and hoping to hear him that he's flourishing there. But he met his brother and he met his uncle for the first time. But the other group was, I was talking to a gentleman from Kobani. Everybody knows what happened in Kobani with Daesh and the Kurds fighting in there, and they said that Kobani was in ruins. They left there. While we were talking to them, one of my colleagues, either Ross or Boyana or Mike, said to me, this man who was carrying a parcel, which I thought was full of clothes, was carrying a baby. So in that bag that we thought was full of clothes, literally had a child in swaddling clothes. You know.
So what can people do to help then?
Well, we need people to keep giving. They can look in the wardrobes and in the drawers and find warm clothing that they're not using. We urgently need that. We also need cash. We need the amount of money to send the next wave of containers. It's approximately £3,000 to send a 40-foot truck. Okay. So that's exactly what we need. So yeah, definitely, people should get in contact with us and start to donate now. This appeal is not over. This appeal is just beginning.
Okay, thank you both very much for joining us, and best of luck with everything.
Thank you
very much.